start with the Tyrconnell then?
Yeah, so we'll start with the Tyrconnell.
Nice.
Okay. I'm
Uh,
gonna.
I have not
I'm gonna.
cracked this bottle of Tyrconnell in 4 years, I think.
My goodness.
Yep. It's got a little air in there, so I'm hoping there's still some flavor left.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to have enough flavourless, because I mean the Irish whiskies being that triple distilled are lighter flavours on them, so hopefully you've not lost any flavour it had. So my Tyrconnell it's a 16-year-old Oloroso and Muscatel cask finish. And Ryan, which one is you've
My
got your
10-year Madeira cask finish. So it's aged in bourbon, I suppose.
yeah.
And then
So
Yeah.
which one do you have? Which
Just-
bottle is that?
so mine is just Tyrconnell single malt Irish.
My
like
goodness.
that.
It's a purple beast to start with. This is lovely. It's
Okay, so I'm gonna pour a little bit of this Tyrconnell. This is the 10-year Madeira cask, and this is one of the first bottles of whiskey that I ever got. This
Yeah?
very yeah. My I was on a job and I did a really good job. I was working for a really small company. It was my first major assignment. I kind of knocked it out of the park. And so my boss was actually the guy who got me into Scotch in the first place. He got me this bottle and a bottle of Port Charlotte 6, which is no longer made. But it was awesome. And then he got me a bottle of Corvrekian.
you were hooked.
Huh?
And then you were hooked.
Yeah.
What a good way to start.
I would be. Yeah, that sounds
Cheers.
amazing.
Cheers,
Cheers, guys.
Slancha, or cheers.
So I've got
Am I saying that right?
strong, just honey and kind of wonky notes on this. It's very sweet smelling.
Yeah, no, mine's very sweet with the Oloroso. It's like a little bit of fruit. Quite a lot of fruit. It's like fruit cake.
And so, of course, we know that Madeira is a island off of the coast of Portugal, and they are famous for a very sweet white wine grow there. Or they don't grow the wine; they make the wine out of grapes they grow there.
Yeah, because it's for like 45.
Wine trees, as far as the eye can see on the
I'm
island.
not gonna lie, I own a vineyard, or excuse me, I would own a whatever the word for all the trees. I would own all the trees. Orchard.
An orchard.
Wine orchard.
If like
bottle-
wine bottles came out like apples,
Like a bottle, you know.
Yeah.
that'd be amazing.
Oh, wouldn't it though? Go saunter out to the field and pick a bottle or two. Yeah.
So mine is I get less fruit. I definitely get the honey that you guys are talking about, and I get it's really bright.
Probably bourbon, I guess, if I could guess.
Yeah. So you're going to get a bourbon.
That's a tradition as well in Ireland as well, using kind of old American bourbon casks for aging whiskeys.
Yes.
Yes. It had probably to do with the trade that was happening between the Irish whiskies and the US.
They say it's soft and elegant, so
I
that
agree.
helps.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. Any time of the day.
I think that's what I've noticed about a bunch of Irish whiskeys is that they often have like a very character that's redolent of like cask aging, whereas Scotches tend to have more of the I guess barley or spicy character of the
Yeah.
redolent spirit, you know.
Well, the one is with, I mean, we're going to taste it through the Irish ones, the range of what they're doing with it. And they're triple distilling. So remember we've talked about that each time you distill it, you're lifting out some of the, call it the fat flavours.
Yeah.
But the refine, but you could, in the reverse way of saying it, they're refining it. And they're really refining that flavour so as at the time you get it, it's really refined like a nice fillet steak. That a lot of the fat's been taken out, so it's different flavours. So now they can then back layer in on top these casks is what they're doing, but making a great dram.
No, these are very easy drinking, is what I like about them, and
Yeah.
they do have tons of character. I think all of the Irish whiskeys I have, and but I do not have except for the Kinahans, I don't have an Irish whiskey that's only single cask. But every single one of my Irish whiskeys is actually 3 casks.
So it's almost like candy, like
Yeah.
it's a little thicker than I anticipated it being.
Thick with 2 C's.
Yeah, a little bit. It's got like there's definitely like honey and like
Sure.
honeysuckle, like petals maybe, or like a little bit of a floral note. I really like that. It's interesting, but it's just much thicker, almost more syrupy-ish than I thought I was going to be going in.
Yeah. And so you were thinking like having the air in the bottle, taking some of the flavors. You're not finding it. You're saying it's still quite bright, so you're not finding it dull.
Mm-hmm. Now I don't know. I don't remember what it tasted like without the air in the bottle. Like when I first got it, when it was fresh and new. But it's still got. I mean, it maybe have settled a little bit, but it's still got some pretty good ones. Ryan, you were saying that was that bottle was given to you. Is that the actual bottle, or is that the
actual bottle? It's actually very old, but I find that, I mean, I can't talk to myself years ago. If I could, I would be much more successful than I am now. But I couldn't tell you what it tasted like back then. But I'm assuming the same or similar.
Yeah.
I think that like whiskeys are much less. They don't age when they're in the bottle, right? Only when they're in the cask.
Sure.
That's correct.
I guess as long as they're like reasonably airtight, they probably don't oxidize much. I guess, and if they do, they'll be.
It's once you get below about halfway down the bottle, what's happening is you've just got natural air in the bottle, and so there's a slight oxidation that's happening. So between there's that, and if you're exposing it to sunlight, now the worst thing you can do is have like a quarter bottle, have a lot of sunlight on it, and things will keep it in the dark. Let it sit. But for you, you both need to just finish those bottles and go and buy another one.
Yeah.
So you can get the 2020 version. Yeah. There's some good stuff here. This is excellent. What a great start. Good call. And that over there. So since we're in Ireland and that, you two going to bless me with your Irish accents, no?
Hey. No. But Tyrconnell also not actually a distillery. Another thing I noticed about a lot of Irish whiskeys is that they are not actually distilleries. They're brands, and there are sub of other of distilleries. For instance, what did you say this distillery was called? On
the Cooley Distillery.
Cooley Distillery. That's right.
The Cooley.
One of their brands. So it's and the one when you think about it, Ireland was down to like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 distilleries. When we had in Scotland, they went down to about 90 to 100 from 130 distilleries in the late 70s and 80s. Yeah. Ireland was down as well. But Ireland was already down way back because thanks to you guys in the Prohibition, and those guys lost a lot, and all the distilleries, a lot of them closed down. That's when you were kind of flipping over to Scotland.
So back in Prohibition then, is it a thing there where were they making as much American whiskey so that it wasn't such a problem then that's why Ireland suffered so much during the Prohibition? Is that the thing that happened then?
I don't know, you tell me.
We've lost whatever Irish viewers we had.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, correct us there.
My apologies to anybody and everybody for that.
Correct in editing. But your accent's good. It's good. They'll enjoy that. So on Tyrconnell, what are we thinking next? We'll go to the you guys will be yellow spot, and I've got the green spot.
So this is a bourbon sherry and Malaga cask, and Malaga is of course it's a sweet white wine, fortified wine similar to Pedro Jimenez from the south of Spain. And what I don't know is actually who distills Yellow Spot. Gary, do you know off the top of your head? Someone.
The one is they're all owned by there's a whole group of things. So you're discussing the company that owns them and then getting down into what they're doing.
Yeah.
And
but it is it's a mark of Jameson.
Yeah. But it's actually the distillery is the Middleton one, and they're using for it. I'm going to open this one, the green spot. But I'm going to do it finished in Zinfandel wine cases. So it's Chateau Montelena, which is a Napa Valley Zinfandel one. Yeah.
Let's pour Dram. You guys know from talking to me, I totally enjoy cask finishes on whiskeys.
Yes, we've noticed.
I love it.
But actually, with the Irish ones, it goes really well. I mean, the cask finish is really nice. I mean, they've triple distilled it, so they've perfected it that way. And then what you're doing, you're layering in on top these lovely flavors.
It's just awesome flavor, awesome scent, I have to say.
Oh man! So every once in a while, I'll nose a whiskey, and I'll enjoy it so much that Gary, when I think my first whiskey tasting I ever went to was with you, of course. and you told us a story about, I think it was Johnny Depp, and he walks around and he doesn't drink, but he gets a glass of something and he just smells it all night.
Yeah, Lagavulin.
Yeah, and every once in a while, I will smell something that I completely understand that impulse with, and this smells amazing.
One of them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've got a different cask finish from you, but it's just lovely there.
So this is apparently matured in all these casks, not finished as well. So it's really got 12 years of aging in all three of those, and I guess they. So do they age them consecutively, or is this like like barrels of each that are 12 years old, and they mix the barrels together, or do they?
No, it's gonna be usually it's an aging. You've got to finish it in it because it's yours. Is it finished in? If it's finished in, it's in the cask.
Yeah, mine says 3 cask maturation, so it's just sitting in there forever, right?
Yeah.
Delicious. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's great. Dear to visit Ireland. So mine says a Zinfandel one, so I'm getting a red. It's a red wine cask, obviously, and
that's not a red wine cask, but Zin is a very bold wine as well. So
yeah, but it's not actually. It's not. I'm not getting as much sweetness as you do, like the sherry casks and
flavor. The flavor here is. It feels like it's very heavy on the wine to me, and there's something on the finish, on the back of my tongue. It's a bit almost astringent, maybe.
Oh yeah, there's that. Well, that's probably going to be probably less the finish, and that's more just the alcohol from distillery.
I don't know, Chance. Do you think this tastes hot? This tastes hot to me as well. Like
I was going to say, I was about to check. What's the? Oh yeah, check the alcohol.
It's the same ABV, 46% as the Tyrconnell, but Tyrconnell is far smoother than this.
Yeah. It's definitely got some bite to it.
Yeah,
this is good. Yeah, this is a little bit of bite flavor in there.
What is that? There's something right there on the finish. Oh my god! I know it's not a cognac, but it's almost like bubblegum. Or
you think it's like a Bryn or like Bryn style, or
not as overpowering as a Bryn. So on the nose, I'm getting some like chalky milk chocolate, like milk chocolate that came out and like it's the powder they put on it, along with some really nice bright notes, but. Yeah, it's really sweet, almost like a gum,
Yeah, my goodness, you'll be running out and buying a bottle of that one.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's got that little bit of that heat. There's not so much a heat, but a little bite usually at the back end. And this is thinking, it's like a big bold Zinfandel flavor profile.
I have to concur about the bite. This is it has a certain heat to it.
This would be fantastic after a glass of hot chocolate.
Yeah, or with hot chocolate. Just dump it in.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this would be amazing.
I think I'm going to get that yellow spot. Then you're selling me on it.
Yeah, the green spot sounds good, but this is very nice. I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
Good.
The finish is quite long on it is another thing that I'm enjoying. And yeah, I have to concur about the bubble gum, but it takes a while for me to get the bubble gum. Like literally, I sipped 3 minutes ago, and now I'm finally getting the waft of gum.
I really like that.
Yeah, I'm because it's in that cask, that Zinfandel cask. I'm doing the wood rub to see the smell.
Yeah,
the smell is totally different from what I'm tasting. I'm actually getting a little bit some sweet wood or something. So that's American oak.
When I do the drip test on my hand, I get overwhelming sweetness, like overwhelming.
Yeah. I think that's just that you're just getting all the flavors from the woods that are really coming out.
That must be lager, because that's like an extremely dense, sweet, white dessert fortified wine, similar to PX. And so, like generally, like if I take what do I have this aged in PX? Oh, the Auchentoshan 3-wood, right? Is 3-wood? Yeah, 3-wood's PX. So
I agree with the sweetness on the back of the hand.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a sweetbread sweetness. It's like a baked sweetness as opposed to like fruit or sour or anything like that. It's more like a Danish without the cream, or a sweet roll when it's freshly being baked.
Yeah. Okay, now you're more. I'm just.
You have a little bit more of that like Maillard reaction, kind of like caramelization, than you do.
Yeah.
I'm taking a quick sidebar, and I put a little bit of the Auchentoshan 3-wood. I feel that it's going to be the closest to this.
I'm going to find an Auchie 3-wood then. I'm going to join you. I wouldn't leave you on your own.
So surprisingly, these are not similar to me at all.
Oh my goodness. So wait a minute. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Are you?
Not at all similar.
Yeah. I mean, not that I've got your one, but that is such a massive difference. And
I smell much more wood influence in the Auchentoshan 3-wood than I do in the yellow spot. And the 3-wood is no age statement, so I don't know how long it was actually in casks, but I'm getting tons more character from external exogenous casks in this than I do in the Auchentoshan 3-wood.
We'll get there. We're still building you up. We know that Auchentoshan is not your favourite Scottish malt, so we're still building you up. So just we'll hold it for just now. We're staying in Ireland, just slightly building your palate layers up.
I will say Auchentoshan is one of my favourites. I love Auchentoshan.
Oh yeah, exactly. There's nothing. I mean, every whiskey's got something, a nice, lovely redeeming factor. But we know that Ryan's particularly something about the Auchentoshan not being his most impressive outing with it. So with this one, maybe Ryan and I will go to try this Kinahan's. So I've picked up the 10-year-old single malt. Oh my goodness! Wow, this is.
I had the same bottle. And so what we learned about Kinahan's is that maybe you had different information or more current than I did, but I could not. This is an independent bottler, and they just source whiskeys from around Ireland. And so this is not a distiller. Kinahan's is not a distiller. This is an old brand from the 1700s that went out of business in the early 1900s and was resurrected in the past few years as a label. Apparently, back in the day, it was the same business model, where they were not their own distiller, but they were also sourced whiskeys and bottled them themselves.
So what they're doing single malts. They're just going to stay with one distillery, effectively, like a bit like the single cask model. So think of these guys. I mean, so you're basically saying they're like a Johnny Walker type company.
Probably, yeah.
And they're picking one up.
Yeah, well, what is it? Most Scotch that is distilled for Johnny Walker, right? Like the majority of Scotch goes into Johnny Walker stuff, and they have something like, what is it? I think Blue Label has something like 70 different whiskeys in it or something. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. But as well as that, and the Blue Label's getting some of your rarer ones as well. That's the beauty of it.
So this is like I mean, if you were to go back to your scale, Gary, this is like a 1 or a 2. I feel it's just extremely light. I would say it's not leaving me with a huge impression anyway. It's very easy drinking.
Wow, this is a great whiskey to introduce people to whiskey.
Oh yeah, and do the drop test, and it doesn't smell like anything. Literally, it just doesn't smell like anything to me. Like I'm getting a faint whiff of wood when it evaporates, but
so maybe that's a bit of probably an aged bourbon cask then.
Just a touch of sweet, Yeah,
there's not much. There's nothing there.
There's
no.
These first two are bursting, I feel, with character, from the cask, but this feels like a more pure expression of Irish whiskey or whatever. It's very easy drinking. It's very pleasant. But, it's not going to knock anyone's socks off, I don't think.
Yeah, so if we'd done this, and we would have started with that Kinahan's as well. Would have been the first one to start with.
So you feel the Kinahan's was softer and easier than the Tyrconnell?
It's just like water, man. It's
the water of life, as they would say.
It is the water of life. Yeah, this is very lightweight.
Aquavite.
Here.
Yeah, it's triple distilled, and it's probably what's the ABV, because it doesn't taste.
So my bottle says wood type is charred oak. No, this is not chill filtered, which is fine, and this is a 2015 bottling of mine.
Right, mine's a 2019 bottling.
Okay.
American oak, non-chill, batch number 5. It's got bottle number 1028.
Mine was small batch number 01.
Oh, nice.
I have the first batch. I feel good about that.
You get 7th batch, and it's solid what they're doing.
Wait, Ryan, yours is batch number 1?
Yeah, I think this when it was first started. They first started up.
That's amazing, man. That's fantastic.
Well, remember, one of the things to think about is in Ireland, the whole single malt one has just exploded in the last 10, 15 years. I would say in Scotland it exploded since the early 90s. 890, well, exploded in the sense of came back when it was coming back into vogue and everybody was coming really back into it. And in Ireland it took a little bit, and they were saying, hey, we've been burned before, we're just waiting to see that this is really kicking off from a commercial side.
Yeah.
Come back. And then, so that's why a lot of that people are bringing up now, picking up these barrels and doing their own thing, and that's for me. This is great. This is delicious.
A little bit of a Great King Street Artist Blend, which is this blended Scotch that I like to use for cocktails. It's just very light character. It doesn't impose a lot. It doesn't impose a lot on the palate a lot. It just kind of exists and is pleasant. Like I like it. It's a good intro whiskey. It's challenging. I don't think much, but it's good. It's decently flavorful.
Yeah,
but it just doesn't like watery to me. It's like you said that. Which one? Chance was like you said it was thick. Was that?
Yeah, that's Tyrconnell.
The Tyrconnell is thick, and this one is just very thin and watery. It's not bad. But...
Think about it. This is like a triple distilled little filet mignon. We'll put it in the plate. There's not a single ounce of fat on this. This is stripped right down. Whereas like your Tyrconnell and that your yellow spot, you've just layered it in on top of some casks to fill a bit of flavour in. So there's a couple of veins of fat going through there, giving you flavour.
I like it.
This trip to Ireland is good. I really like these. Now we'll call this the lower Lowlands in Ireland, as I would say, since I'm Scottish.
Sorry, that took me a second to catch on. I like that.
You have to be looking at the map, but to the lower Lowlands. But the Irish and the Scottish go back a long way. Yeah, so what we're going to do is so a nice way to finish on in Ireland is we're going to finish with we'll do Bushmills. Now Bushmills are very commercial, so Bushmills could I know it's Jameson, but Bushmills could be like the at times would have been maybe like nearly yellow rose, but it'd be like Four Roses or some of the traditional older American bourbons. Bushmills had that. It was very much in every pub you'd have a glass of Bushmills.
And this is the oldest distilleries, and it is the oldest distillery in Scotland, right? Or Ireland, right?
I could claim it as Scotland. Yeah, I would like that. No. Like a distillery that's 400 years old legally.
If they were in Scotland, they would doubly distill, and it would be super flavorful.
Yeah, no, it's triple distilled, and we've got respect for that. But so I'm doing the 10-year-old Bushmill, so I know what you guys are doing, so I'm doing 10.
I've got a bottle of 16, got a bottle of 21.
Nice.
1, right?
Yeah, I got the 21.
I think
the 16 is my dad's very favorite whiskey. And it is aged in matured, not just like matured in sherry, bourbon, and port. And I'll tell you from personal experience, the port really comes through in this whiskey. Like it kind of port tends to, I think. This one is aged in Madeira casks, which is, again, sweet white wine from some islands that are to the west of Portugal.
I'm feeling like the poorer cousin.
All right. Let's give it. Are you pouring the 21, Chance?
I am pouring the 21.
We'll use a pouring. So my one is, I've got the 10-year-old, so this is great. I mean, just for a 10-year-old, matured in bourbon and Oloroso sherry casks for a minimum of 10 years. So it gets a smooth, honeyed flavour. So you guys have got a triple cask.
Yeah.
But 10-year-old is already even getting that Oloroso coming through. And so I feel like the poorer relation here, but...
Isn't that nose nice?
Oh, that is yeah.
Nice as hell. I'm going to get another nose glass, and I'm going to compare this side by side with the Yellow Spot 12.
Oh, good call. I'm using the Tyrconnell one to do my comparison with the nose smell, which I know is a lot lighter. Oh my goodness, the Tyrconnell is... Wow. Hit me. I'm now getting your bubblegum smell. You've got that in my head now. Oh, the Bushmill. Oh, that's nice.
So the Yellow Spot is a bit hotter on the nose. There seems to be more alcohol involved there, and just there's an overwhelming sense of like depth and sweetness to this 21. That's kind of where I'm going to start off.
What's the ABV of your 21? Is Bushmills usually a little bit lower?
And it is only 40%, so it's less hot than the Yellow Spot.
Yeah, so it's cusping. Now 40 is that minimum you have to be to be whiskey.
Yeah.
Man, I love the difference between this and the Yellow Spot, because the Yellow Spot is bright and sharp and sunlight and daisies, and this is like
extra percent alcohol.
Yeah,
I think. But the casks definitely give this just it's got to be that Madeira cask. It's
very sweet.
Making them, these are good smells.
Like at 40 ABV, this is just like candy. It's just sweet and complex. The sherry, I think that the sherry is marrying with this sweet white wine just exceptionally well, and it's all undergirded by the honeyness from the bourbon. And what I find is that if this for this 16 year, which is the port, so sherry, bourbon, port, the port I feel drowns out a lot of these other flavors, but it feels like the white wine and sherry and bourbon, they're all on different wavelengths, and so the peaks don't override each other. You just get all of the peaks of these flavors together. It's marvelous.
What in the 21? What is that on the finish? There is a deep fruity note in that finish that is really incredible.
I think what you're the finish is sherry, and I think that the bourbon and the Madeira are contributing to the sweetness that's on the palate, directly on the palate. And the sherry I'm feeling is what's giving us this long finish. And there's also, to me, this bit of the winey kind of astringency that wine has sometimes. I'm getting just a touch of that on the finish.
Yeah, like it's almost at the top of your throat going into your nose, where it's like in between the two. Is that what you're talking about? Because I get that for sure.
Precisely, yeah.
And one of the things is on these, my 10-year-old, the finish on it, we haven't really talked about how long that finish is lingering. Is that a quick finish, medium, or a longer one? I think for all of these ones, none of them have been a really long, lingering finish. Mm-hmm. They've all been like good, now quick to medium finish. You've still got some flavour there.
You need to get that Yellow Spot 12. That had a real long finish.
Okay, then I'm great. You've got me. You've convinced me. I already noted that down.
You're welcome, Diageo.
I think you're right. The Yellow Spot is much brighter.
Well, that completes our dram of Irish whiskey. Please join the gentlemen next week as they travel across the North Channel to the Lowlands of Scotland. Thank you for coming for a dram and a blether, and as always, please drink responsibly.